You ain't got no muscle. Nothing. You ain't got nothing to burn.
I don't got nothing. I don't got nothing
Mine
to
ready
carry.
to die.
Them hip flexors gonna hit though.
Yeah, them hip flexors gonna hit hard.
Look, he's shaking already. What you mean? Yeah, he's shaking like a stripper at church.
Or like something in the bedroom with that magic wand hitting them.
The rabbit. The magic wand just a vibrator. The rabbit got all that, all the stuff, rabbit, got the beads in it.
That magic wand about the size of the RC ears. Water container. That magic wand got that power to it.
All right, fellas, yeah. Good talk. Magic wands and roses and powers and
rabbits.
Yeah, and then we had we like hunting, doing magic shows, gardening, all kind of stuff going on.
Hold up, limitless, niggas to me got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Limitless, niggas to me got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant.
Well, welcome to another Friday, 3-man pivot. Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor, Ryan Clark, Pivot fam. Thank you for pivoting with us. Glad to see you boys are doing well. Extremely happy that all of us are doing better than Offset. Like I think
that man okay, man. You know, he
Offset catching strays on this beautiful day, man.
No, I was just saying that when I look at, this is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yep.
We had Ryan Mundy on the show, and remember he told us, he said, hey, what's good for Black men's mental health is good for everybody's mental health.
Y'all move on from a relationship, you both move on. And y'all decide y'all's path. The road has now split, and whatever highway she jumps on, she's on the highway. You get on your own highway. I don't know, Let's ride 285, 75 in Atlanta. They break off.
I think a lot of times, though, you want the highway that they get on to have a lot of traffic, right? You don't want the one that they get on to be like $140 million deep, 3 inches taller, handsome, and very successful. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want her to, when she get on that highway, you want her to hop on that highway in a Pinto, not a Rolls Royce.
One of them dirt roads.
Urus.
You want over there riding like this. We don't want the easy path.
285 go around the city, though. You gotta always come back around.
I come back around.
It's gonna come back around.
Man,
just like grown folks do grown folks, man. They'll figure it out.
Thing with Stefon, the video that went crazy and all, I want to say it, I don't know what was in that bag, whatever. I don't advocate for drugs. But him just speaking to other women, they act like it's a problem with him speaking to other women. What's wrong with that? It wasn't like he was grabbing them, touching them. He was just talking, BSing, probably had a couple drinks, having a good time. Man, listen, if you're in a relationship, you can interact with the opposite sex. That's what the thing was getting me about that damn Stefon Diggs boat video. He wasn't doing it. He was sitting there in the captain's chair bullshit.
But that's the beauty and the magic of social media. Like, they put it out there, and then it didn't even have sound, right? So only the people present in that immediate area, they know exactly what went down. For everybody else, it's just left for speculation. And it's 10 different storylines, maybe 100. And people really don't know, but, I digress.
Man, bump the storylines. Them people got a relationship. They happy in their relationship. Leave them people be. If they want to go on boats and enjoy their time together, he's not on a boat by himself, allow those people to do that. But with social media, people feel like they're entitled to the whole of your life. You don't have to go out and address what was going on. You just go on and live.
Keep living. And I'll tell you this too, Asia and myself, we go to the shake spots. And I'll ask Asia, hey, what's the prettiest girl in here? Okay, I'll go throw her money. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's different ways relationships are done. So everybody, I would never look at another woman if I'm... No, but if your woman's okay with looking at another woman too. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody wants to put people in their little relationship box, man. That's foolishness. That's foolish. Let them people live. They're happy. I saw the video. Stefon looked happy. Cardi looked happy looking back at Stefon. I'm happy. If she looking back happy, Stefon looking forward happy, I'm happy.
And the pivot moves on. Saw earlier this week, Asante Samuel and Deion got together to have a conversation. I think that's cool. I feel like Deion's always trying to figure out positive ways to find resolution and solution. But he said on that podcast with him that it hurt him to hear some of the things he heard about Shedeur during the draft process. Things like he was unprepared, things like he walked into meetings with headphones on. And he's like, and if you know my child, that's not how he's walking in. Fred, what's kind of your assessment of that situation?
I think first and foremost, Prime has a right to feel the way he felt. He's a parent first, right? I think that is prioritizing the entirety of the situation. I want to lead with that first. He's a parent. So he's going to have a natural emotion tied to, the treatment of his son. And I believe along the way, the treatment was unfair, in my opinion. We obviously understand that media scrutiny does come with professional sports. But in the case of Shedeur, I believe it was excessive, and a lot of it was sort of bent in a negative manner. So yeah, Deion has a right to feel the way he feels, much like any other parent would if certain things were said about their child. If it were evaluations based on his gameplay, and then they were talking about him, then that's fine. But, that kid did not do anything wrong. I know people might say, well, move on. You guys, everyone needs to move on. But this is about, Prime's feeling in his heart. And Prime is a good man. But I firmly believe that Shedeur caught a little bit of whatever Prime left out there from his career and how he moves now. Shedeur caught some of that. And I think he was just treated unfairly. And going forward, though, I do want to, or I would like to see the media treat him or speak about Shedeur based on, his talent going forward, and not all of this other stuff, these other ideas that they've come up with. Like, the kid, I think, is going to be a good pro and speak to that.
Proof's in the pudding now. I understand Prime being upset. He should have been, because they were talking about the man, yeah, he's unprofessional, he won't answer questions. I heard that he felt as if he was interviewing what team he wanted to play for more than trying to impress them with himself. I heard all that crap too. He is now with the Browns. The Browns don't want to lose. Go win the starting spot. And then them people have to apologize to him. But Prime's quarterback's son being drafted, one of the best players in NFL history being drafted, his son being drafted, it's unprecedented. He brings a lot of attention. The teams didn't know how to deal with it. That's my opinion. The teams didn't know how to deal with a kid like that that's already set for life and has a little something to him. And they wanted a little more meek and accepting. No, that's not Shadour Sanders. That's not Prime. That's not Shiloh. That's not Bucky. That's not the Sanders. Your daddy, Deion Sanders, you gonna walk in the room with a little something because that's all you saw your whole life. So the league wasn't ready for it, but now they're in OTAs now. They about to go to camp here in a couple months. Proof's in the pudding. Go win the job, Shedeur. That's what I would say. Go win the job, and these people gonna sound stupid, to be honest.
Maybe it's my algorithm, but I see Shiloh and Shedeur more than I've ever seen any undrafted guy or fifth-round guy on social media in the history of Instagram, Threads, Twitter, X, whatever it is. Like, those dudes are everywhere. And they caught some of Deion's strays, right? Deion had a level of greatness that was untouchable, right? Deion could say, yeah, I'm not interviewing with these people because I'm not going to be there in the draft. Deion could say, hey, I already ran 140. I ain't effing with no more of this testing because y'all already know I'm top 5 and it ain't tripping. Watch the film, know who I am. That's the difference between, I think, Deion and who his kids were. And then I think Deion's approach to it made other people, Deion's fame, right? Deion's success, Deion's ability to one day be a head coach in the league. Also, Deion's ability and what he's done in navigating the present, right? When we talk about college of his children and now going into the pros, this was the first thing he couldn't control. And they was like, I got you. Now, it's not about the actual evaluation. Because like what Freddie said, if you evaluate him a certain way, then that's just the evaluation. It was the chatter, right? It was the conversation around him. So many things about Shedeur during the draft process were character, personality. All these things that we can't prove on the outside, right? We were able to watch the film and say, yeah, you know what? Maybe his pocket movement ain't what you want in the first round. Maybe he doesn't have the speed to extend plays. Maybe he doesn't have the rocket arm like some of these dudes. But every report was about something we couldn't refute, also something folks couldn't prove. I feel like Deion's hurt also comes from him always being able to take care of his kids as a father and having a little bit of a feeling that some of this is because of me and I can't take it away from them. You know how it is as dads, man. It's like you want all the good for your kids and none of the bad. And then when anything's bad, that's why kids cry, right? Because when they know when they cry, we want to figure out how to stop you from crying. You hungry, you wet, you tired, let me tend to that from the time that they're born. And Deion finally got to a point where he was like, damn, can't do it. And I think that's difficult to deal with.
I'm sure Joe, I'm sure Nari, I'm sure kids, they have something in you nature-wise and nurture-wise. You think if Shedeur them Shiloh come home at 6, all insecure about themselves looking at the ground, what's Deion gonna tell them?
Pick your head up.
Keep working, keep grinding. You got beat today, you ain't gonna get beat tomorrow. That's what with Lil Chan and Chaz and Ava, that's what I'm putting that on them, that mindset. And now that mindset is not working anymore. So now it's, now as a father, you have to adjust. But Deion should not feel any way about what happened because now everybody wants to put this crap on the draft. We didn't hear about Jackson Dart's personality. We heard a little bit about Cam Ward because he was the #1 pick, but we didn't hear any criticism about all those quarterbacks. But everything about Shedeur was he had glasses on. He looks at his watch when he scores. Who gives a damn? He just scored. He can look at whatever the hell he wants to.
Yeah, and if they really made any honest evaluations, they would have noticed that he was this way at Colorado. He pulled up with the watch. He had the chain. This is just how this kid is. But they have to be able to separate the gameplay from the personal stuff, right? So I look at my son, Jim McElwain, when he snatched Kelvin up. And the media, he was embarrassed. Everybody embarrassed him. I fell back because I understood it was a game. It was something he did that he shouldn't have done, and I was cool with it. If it was something on the field that Shedeur did and the media criticized him, Prime would be fine with it. But when it's personal, based on the kid's personality, then I'm okay with Prime feeling the way that he feels because media knows how to separate the two, and oftentimes they don't, and especially when it comes to the Sanders family.
His kids, right? Obviously, your father's one of the greatest football players of all time. They follow in his footsteps. You were just talking about KT, same with you. My son played football. Jaden played sports in high school. Logan played volleyball. Your kids play sports. Ava's gone from tennis to basketball. Lil Chan, football, baseball. I read something this week. They were having a debate saying that telling young black children to play sports is ruining them. And now the guy kind of went on and he kind of rephrased it later because people was like, hold on, wait, sports do all of these good things. Yeah. And he was saying making them feel like they have to be a professional was sort of the thing. What's your mindset on your kids playing sports and your way of approaching how they look at it?
My thing is that I think sports is great for kids. The camaraderie of it, the work ethic, going out there, the waking up early, I think that's great for all things. This summer, we got Chan in guitar camp. He already plays the drums. He kind of looked and was like, Daddy, the guitarist is always in front. I said, well, let's go learn how to play the guitar. Diversify what they're doing. And sports is one angle, but it shouldn't be everything. We demand straight A's. Chaz don't get grades, he's 4, but Ava and Lil Chan straight A's this last semester. Okay, checklist. Sports, checklist. Instruments, checklist. I think that's what you're supposed to do with your kids. I don't think telling a kid to play sports is bad at all.
Right.
I think making that their entire life is the problem. And even past that, going for everything for a career. No. My kids love to fish. My kids love to go to the bouncy houses, whatever they're called. They love to go to the beach. They love to go with the little belly board and run across the little surf and all. That's what I think is the problem when you put so much on sports that the whole family has these blinders on. You're going to the NFL. You're going to the NBA. You're going to be in Major League Baseball. Introduce them to it. Push them through it, get them trainers, get them good coaches. You know what, especially if you play ball, you know what it takes to be a professional. Do all of that, but also let them enjoy life. And that's what I think the problem is with that my major focus on this one thing. That's all they're doing. They might, if they don't make it, now what is their life? We talking about mental health. What is it? If I tear my knee up in high school, what is it then? So I think that's the bigger conversation, is that you don't have to, it's not bad to make a kid play sports. It's bad to only make a kid play sports.
If more parents understood the small percentage of athletes that make it to that dream, that professional sports, then I think they would also introduce them to other arenas, right? I think Black excellence shouldn't always be, the default dream. Sports shouldn't just be always the default dream, right, for Black people. I want we're very athletic. We're great at it, actually. But I think a lot of times, too, that's all we have in certain demographics, certain neighborhoods. But I think that we have to do a better job in our community of identifying the other heroes, our Black heroes in tech, in entrepreneurship, in the arts, all these different things, and music as well, and not just say sports is your only way out, because we have some brilliant, beautiful Black minds in all spaces. So as parents, introduce your children to all these different avenues, all these different arenas. I said all the time too, exposure does lead to expansion. You're introducing Chan to guitaring and all that other stuff, but I have to also be better at how I want my kids to be, or give them opportunities to go and succeed in other spaces. And everyone wanted me to just put them in football and sports. I said, nah. If I introduce them, they like it, they'll play sports. If they don't, they got to go and do something else. But those grades are going to always be, at the forefront of what we try and do. So, that's my 2 cents on it.
I think it helps for parents to have girls. Girls, females, very rarely have these expectations of getting these communal, cultural families out the quote-unquote hood, right? They don't have that on them, because what are you going to play that's going to change all of our lives? And so when you think about women, it is you're pouring into them, and you want them to play sports, and you want them to be athletic, and you want them to understand what it is to be a part of that culture, a culture of striving for greatness, a culture of understanding work ethic and discipline. And so when I put my girls into sports, it wasn't so, hey man, so you can go be professional. It was to give them a different community. It was to let them see people of diverse backgrounds, and now we can all come together and try to do this one thing. Right? But boys is different because of what we could see, of what we could touch. Every time Fred Taylor goes back to where he's from and does a camp, or he's seen in a store, he's seen around, those young kids say, damn, he from where I'm from, I could go do that same thing. Same thing with you, same thing with me, right? So many times now I get calls from young people about TV, right? Because these kids don't know I even played football. Right? But they know I did TV. And so because they could see me, because they could touch me, because they could be around me, now that's a dream of theirs. When you talk about like putting a kid in the sport so he could be a professional, it's not about putting him in the sport so he can be a professional. Put him in the sport so he could want to be excellent at something.
Right.
And honestly, the truth is, right, he's going to take to the thing that's probably easy for him, which means he's good at it. Right? Like Marcus Spears' son, whose mother was a first-round draft pick, whose father was a first-round draft pick and a top 50 hooper when he came out of high school, he's supposed to go play basketball. And then when you see he's grown to 6'8", you're supposed to push him to try to be the best he could possibly be, which means he could be a top 5 draft pick. That's his lot in life, not everybody's. But we also shouldn't tell kids don't strive for excellence. It's about saying, this is all I can do. Tell them they can do other things. Show them they can do other things. But I don't want playing sports to get sort of this negative connotation in our communities. Because if I don't play sports, I don't get to the Catholic school that provides me an opportunity to be prepared to go take my ACT and hit my numbers the first time. To be prepared to go to college and be the go-to guy in every interview, prepared to go to college and get into the Manship School of Mass Communications. And so sports can take you places, but for us, like for me with Jordan, our conversations were always about where his feet were at the present time and what the next step was. And I think you got to do that and can't put a kid in Little League and say, hey, go be Joe Montana.
And one more thing I think parents should do, don't say, if I don't make it, my plan B. I'm getting through that now, having the kids growing up now. Don't say, I'm playing baseball. Oh, I don't go to major leagues. almost like a letdown. Now I have to be a doctor. Now I have to be a lawyer. Ava, I'm playing in WNBA. We watched Dallas, what was it, Seattle the other night. She's watching Skylar Diggins out there doing, she can dribble, daddy. I'm like, yeah. She says, I'm gonna play in WNBA, and then I'm gonna be a veterinarian, and then I'm gonna open my own dog hotel because people can leave their dog to me, and I'm a vet now, so if they get sick, I'm gonna do this, and then do this, and then do this. Don't make plan Bs like a letdown of life, a letdown of the family. That's what I would say when you're planning, when you got them kids set in sports, it's not, now I gotta be an attorney. It's not like that. It should never be like that.
And you also shouldn't say when. You shouldn't say when. You shouldn't say when Joey makes it, when Robert makes it, when this happens. You also don't have to say if. What you say is, hey man, we're working for right now. I heard a parent recently, I forget where I was, say when such and such gets to the NFL, and my stomach turned. And now, it also ain't for me, who could look at this child. I know his mama and his daddy. Genetically, that's not the lottery he hit, right? But he is a good little athlete. I think we set our kids up when we're saying when because you already now spending his money. And that's not his job.
Yeah, it goes back to the parents living their personal dreams through their children. But Chan, I wanted to ask you something because LeBron just recently said parents got to be careful because they overtrain. You know, they put kids in so many different sports, and then the kids face burnout before they're 22, 23. I have young kids, but they're not in sports. You have kids that are in multiple sports. How do you balance, finding or creating an environment that they eventually kind of take to and find their love for the game versus pushing them too hard and turning them off later in life?
It's a balance. It is a back and forth because like RC just said, Ava was in tennis heavy, homeschool, tennis, 5 hours in the morning, go to school for 3 hours, 3 hours in the afternoon. Like she wanted to do tennis. So Asia and myself, we let her see like, hey, this is what Coco Gauff did. This is what the Williams sisters did. You want to be that? You want to play tennis? Let's do everything possible to make you successful at tennis. Little Chan, baseball. Got his team practice, got his batting coach, got his trainer come over twice a week in the morning. We're gonna do as much as we can to maximize your ability at that sport. But the burnout is something that I haven't seen yet. But Ava did switch to basketball, but she was saying she doesn't want to be all by herself all day. Tennis is very isolating.
Hey.
So as soon as she said that, did we just say, oh, go play on the rec league? No, we went and found an amazing coach with the Miramar Miracles. So you don't want to do tennis? You want to do basketball? Okay, well, let's go maximize basketball now. So I think that's the thing you got to do. And also, don't specialize. That's what they call it, right? When kids play just one sport. All the kids at school, Chan and Ava, they school teams, they can play on them all they want to. Hey, I'm going to miss baseball because we're playing flag football at school. I want to go try out and see if I play flag football. No problem, go play it. I think that specializing is the problem that parents get into when somebody's 8, 9 years old. You're a baseball player. You're a basketball player. Let's see if Big Spears he's 6'8", he might be able to kick that foot back and, you know what I'm saying? You never know.
He like 160.
Yeah, that
He ain't kicking that foot back. But just that, to answer your question, I think that specializing is what burns kids out.
Well, even for you, RC, your children are older now,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know if you went through it, but a lot of these parents are travel parents. The parents might damn near be facing burnout. They got to go everywhere and support their children, right? Like, what's your thoughts on, LeBron's statement?
Yeah, I think the first thing about what LeBron's saying, I think it's funny because he's talking to Luka, who's been a professional player since he was a teenager, right? He don't seem burnt out when he be dropping 40, now maybe he's burnt out on defensive end. You know what I'm saying? But when you think about LeBron's statement, I think the burnout comes in two ways, right? It comes for lazy people, right? Because that's when you realize the reason you were doing all of these things, the reason you were in all of these places was because your parent was bringing you to do it. Because your parent was saying, okay, I know the way to get you there. Let me help you get there. And now when left up to your own devices, you don't have that drive. You don't have that thing in you that says, let me go take this next step on my own. Yeah, I'm a lottery pick. Let me go be an all-star. Yeah, I'm an all-star, but let me go be all NBA. Yeah, I'm all NBA. Let me go win a chip. Let me go be a Hall of Famer, right? Those people have something that's internal that drove them, right? Like me and Jordan got to the point where he was like, hey, Pop, I know we got this 6 o'clock. Or I tell him, hey, Jordan, Mo's doing sprint work today at Traction if you want to go over there. You got your own car. I'm not going to be home. And he would drive and go do it. And for me and him, it was like every step, right? I teach him something, then I let him go do it. I teach him something, then I let him go do it. Now, he gets to a point to where he's on his own. He FaceTimes not too long ago. We answer the phone and I'm watching him rolling out, or I'm watching him on a Saturday in the gym by himself. That's who he learned to be. The other thing is people who set goals to be a professional, right? Because when you set a goal, it's not just about the goal you set, it's about learning to be the sort of person that accomplishes that goal, right? When I set a goal of being in the NBA, it's like, okay, what type of person does that? The type of person that's disciplined, the type of person that trains hard, the type of person that eats right, the type of person that gets these amount of shots up a day. So when you do get there and you're on that next level, either you're going to maintain that or you're going to take it a step further. But if your only goal was to get there, I didn't hit the finish line now. What am I working for? What am I trying to take that next step for? And so for me, it's not necessarily that these kids or these young men, young women grind like that. It's that either they never wanted to or they only did it to get there. And I think that sort of mindset puts you in a place where you don't keep working.
And I think to this conversation is something Amon-Ra St. Brown's dad, because he has, 3 of them in the league. 3 brothers in the NFL. Like, you just talking about how hard it is to make it, 3 brothers in the NFL. And Aaron Donald talked about it with his dad. I didn't want to go to the gym. Aaron Donald said, I didn't want to go work out as much as my dad, 4 a.m. every morning. But once he started making me go, I started loving how my body changed, how I looked, how my strength went. Amon-Ra St. Brown's dad, he got a little more gangster in him. He was like, they getting their ass up. We about to go work out. So the push of it, I do, to your point with Jordan, I think you were laying the framework for him to now love it. I think Aaron Donald had the framework laid to now love it. I'm doing it right now with 13-year-old. Chang, want to go work out at 6 a.m.? Nah. But we're getting better, we grinding. 6 a.m.? Let's work out around 11, Dad, it's summertime. No, I got to work at 2. You know what I'm saying? So I think you lay the groundwork, but at some point, to your point, I think I know what you're saying. They have to fall in the line to love.
Because I trained Jordan, obviously, right? I started to work for him, right? When it initially started, it's Joe, it's 6 o'clock, let's go. Joe, hey, I'm gonna come pick you up from school after school when you work out with your teammates. I know they going to Topgolf, but you got to come over here and get this footwork. There was that. And then it turned into, Pop, can we go train on Saturday? Pop, can we go Friday? Right now, I'm just his trainer. Don't get me wrong, I'm always his father, but it's the same like you in the league with Bomberitos, right? You going over there because you know that's where you want to train. He not calling you on the phone, so you go train. And so, we got to that point. And, you look at those guys who get there and don't want to work no more or feel like they have burnout. And then you see dudes like Steph, who is legitimately the best shooter that has ever lived. And recently he's talking about having imposter syndrome, right? And feeling like he doesn't belong and having to go through the mindset every day of showing up for people, of being his best self. The way I got in, Freddie T, I always felt like I wasn't supposed to be there because that's what the world or football told me. Is that something you ever had to deal with as a guy that goes top 10 and is that dude?
I understand what Steph is saying. And some people can use it as a certain sort of motivation, right? Mental health is real, man. The good thing is he's aware of what he's going through. And the great thing is he's able to share it. People look at Steph. I read some of the comments, man, when I saw the article come up. People was in there saying, man, you Steph Curry. And some other people were saying, man, if he doesn't know he's Steph Curry, then I'm cooked. Who am I? I think you have to be able to identify, and listen to your intuition. Listen to yourself and understand that you can help so many other people by sharing it. I personally, RC, I didn't know how good I was. Hell, I didn't even know who I was as a player until later in my career. Maybe sort of like Steph. I knew I was good. I didn't know how good. I never thought it was an issue. I just enjoyed showing up, playing, trying to help the team win. we didn't speak about mental health a whole lot. You know, I did work with Trevor, and he helped re-encourage my confidence. But I never really thought I lost confidence. So I was battling, you know, so much that, you know, I myself wasn't observing. And then later on, I was like, oh, wow, I did lose confidence right here. Oh, wow, I was, you know, someone I didn't know I was, if that makes sense, right? But yeah, man, I think Steph being in the position that he's in is great, especially this time of the year with June being Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I think it'll help a lot of people to go back and self-examine themselves, ask themselves the right questions so they can lift off whatever burdens or whatever they might be carrying. So I'm all for it, man. I'm glad he was able to identify it and now give it to everybody so we can all use it to be better.
Freddie Swims, someone who isn't myself sometimes.
Hey.
Just something quick on it. Y'all know my opinion on like the doubters from the outside.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. You're a doubt from outside. But there's internal doubt too. And really, I would say the same thing to that. Like, look, if one of these little reporters or somebody wants to tell you that you're terrible or tell you that you're not good at your job, they're gonna find little stats and numbers to put you down the list and all this crap. Go look at your stuff. Like even me, I'm starting for the Dolphins, led a team in tackles, did this. Who leads NFL teams in tackles? Oh, I'm the shit. Did I look at my missed games? Did I know about them? Yeah, but find the positive. The devil doesn't sleep. The devil does not sleep, and that's what's sneaking into your mind. So when I say F the outside haters, F your inside haters too, and respect and know who you are. And that's the thing, and I'm not questioning Steph, because there's a lot of athletes like that. Why did Jordan keep working so hard? Kobe keep working so hard? All them boys wanted to go grind because they wanted to stay on top, even if they didn't think they were on top. Go grind, but F the outside noise and really try your hardest to F the inside noise.
You know, Steph somewhat having imposter syndrome makes total sense to me. Freddie T mentioned the fact that people were like, well, if he doesn't know he's Steph, like, I'm cooked. He does know he's Steph, and he knows he's all of Steph. Like, he remembers being the skinny kid that had to remake his whole shot and he couldn't hit the rim. He remembers being recruited or not being recruited and ending up at Davidson. He remembers being drafted early, people calling him a bust because his ankles turned or broke or whatever it was every single season. Like, those things never go away. Like, you never forget that people didn't want you. And I think depending on the day, right? Depending on the day, it works both ways, right? There's some days where you wake up and you go shoot 100 shots and 90 of them fall and you say to yourself, yeah, they was all wrong, right? And then there's other days you go there and not as many fall and you like, man, is that old me showing up? Like, there were days I'd go to the stadium and I'd walk out the stadium and I'd be like, man, I love coming here every single Sunday and saying that the one dude that thought I could play that was a New York Giants scout was right. Right? And then sometimes you go to the stadium and you leave after you played LaDainian Tomlinson and you're like, damn, were the other 31 teams correct? And so, like, that never goes away. And I think people find greatness in two different ways, right? You find it because you develop a way to grind based on the fact that nobody told you you could have it. Nobody told you it was possible for you. And so every morning you wake up like you feel that way. But what about Shaq? What about LeBron, right? What about all of these dudes who were supposed to be that guy? You got to go find your greatness because you're destined for it, right? Because you're saying to yourself, I actually know I'm supposed to be here. So since I know I'm supposed to be here, let me go prove it to me. There's one where you try to quiet everything that other people have done to you. And then there's another one where you try to raise the volume on everything you've already told yourself. And I think depending on which one you wake up as, right, that's how your day goes. And I think that's why mental health, is so important.
You just described mental health.
Yeah.
Outside versus the inside.
Yeah.
Which one are you gonna listen to? What are you gonna deal with and what are you gonna believe?
How would your mental health be if you raised a child, you married her mom when she was 2, she graduates and you didn't get an invite? How would that affect your mental health?
Got lost in the mail.
You live in the same house.
But it's the stepdad. He
You
raised the
raised
That's
the
all I
kid.
thought. The stepdad raised the girl from 2 years, 4 months
married
old.
the mom.
And was the
Married the
dad?
mom at 2.
Was the daddy at the?
The daddy was there.
The daddy was at the
Daddy was there. The auntie boyfriend too.
Yeah.
boyfriend.
The auntie's boyfriend was
And
there.
he didn't get
and
invited.
the 2 sisters.
And was buying food and raising and picking up
And
from
then he
school.
put her
and-
off his health insurance too, though, and said,
And took the car insurance.
and you got to go live your life now, because clearly I'm not important enough to be a part of this graduation, so I'm also not important enough to pay all these bills for you.
That's
Was he?
tough.
But is he right with the reaction, no, Chan?
She's a kid still. And I don't know that. I would be honest, the outside noise, we were talking about that, the outside noise of what her dad's telling her, what her aunties are telling her. I don't know their relationship. I don't know what the daddy's telling her about the stepdaddy. So it's more to it than that, because I think I would need to know more about the relationship there, because I don't see how she could disrespect that man that raised her since 4 months old for 17, 18 years and not even get an invite. It ain't like she got to pay for it.
Yeah.
Give me a little ticket, let me sit in the stands. Come on, man.
She only got 8. You know, students, they kind of minimize how many tickets you get. So she got 8, and like RC said, it was 1 for the mom, 2 for her sisters, 1 for the aunt, 1 for the uncle, 1 for the grandmother, 1 for her boyfriend, and 1 for her dad, her biological father. So that was 8. And the stepdad, who was there every step of the way, he was excluded. So I think it comes down to communications and boundaries. I think it sets the stage for the certain level of expectation he should have. This is a conversation he should have had with the wife. Or maybe they did, I don't know. But I think he has a right to be hurt. He said he wasn't disappointed, but he was certainly hurt. The daughter, the stepdaughter, it was heavy on her because this is her moment. And he didn't make the list. You know, I'm not laughing, man, but it's tough. I would be hurt if I were him. You know, I would be in a hard position if I were her too. But naturally, my aunt and uncle probably wouldn't have made the cut. My stepdad would have been there.
If her dad was there, financially
It ain't the
supportive
dad, it's
and
the
everything.
boyfriends and all them. Like that's the.
See, how close are you though? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it matters. You know, clearly, I'm not a stepfather. You know, my 3 children are my 3 children. Contrary to popular belief, Jaden lived with me her entire life. And you deal with some of those things, right? Like when you take care of someone else's child like it's your own for such a long time, it becomes your own to you. It becomes your own to you in your heart. It becomes your own to you in your head. And there are moments in life where you're reminded that they're not. And I think that's a very difficult thing. This man has been with her mom since she was 4 months, been married to her mom since she was 2, and taking care of her like his own, then that's a very difficult thing to deal with. And having sort of been in that position as a father, I know that I didn't always do, you know, thinking about the mom, like you're always in this tough spot of, okay, I have to take care of my spouse's feelings, but I gotta take care of this child. I gotta make sure this child doesn't feel like they're wrong for what they feel or who they feel close to. And then sometimes you minimize the feeling of your spouse or your significant other or the stepdad or the stepmom because you sort of go, well, they're the adult, right? They're supposed to adjust or adapt, but that's not real life. And since you don't necessarily have to deal with it, you're now in this place of sort of a, you know, going back and forth, like, who do I take care of? Who matters? And so it truly does fall on the mom in that case to be like, hey, I got to step up and say he deserves to be there. I love you, baby. I know you're trying to do the right thing, but this is how this has to go. And I think it's just tough, you know, for everybody, man. And like when you look at it, you are going to be on the outside and, you know, you always talk about counting pockets. I'm going to be counting sacrifices. Right? If you the stepdad, he wasn't at every birthday party. He didn't pay for school. He didn't buy school shoes. And I'm not even talking about the real daddy. It could be the aunt or the whoever's boyfriend, right? All those things start to play, man. So like, I understand being hurt. And then the question becomes though, because this event has acknowledged you're a step parent, do you no longer treat that child as you have for 18 years that she's your own? And I think that's where,
You still treat her like she's your own. Well, he didn't, because he took her off all the insurances and all that stuff. Like, the mom, I think both of you had on head, the mom should have dealt with this. The biological real mom should have been the liaison, been the middleman of this conversation.
She should have been the one to like delve out the tickets. If she's still 18, this isn't college, because here's what I learned. I had a homeboy who had the best mother. Her parents were divorced, and he would always try to get by his dad's house. And his dad really wasn't fooling with him like that. He was always trying to be close to his siblings from his dad, because he was the only child from his mom. Like, he yearned for that. You know what I'm saying? I had a child who was raised by me and Yank in our house with our other children, and she was treated no differently, right? Like, there was one time that somebody actually complimented me to Yanka and said, man, it is so amazing that Ryan takes care of Jaden like she's his own, because they thought that was her child from a previous relationship. And so, you know, I think that like when you look at all of those things, it's like, man, it gets so difficult to figure it all out. And I think that's the very, you know, tough part about it.
Yeah, I'm replaying this in my head, man, and he said he was in her life since she was 4.
4 months.
4 months, correct, right? Man, that's kind of, the baby's only 4 months. Where was the dad? Like, what happened with the relationship? I think you become a stepdad, like, maybe he kind of was on the other end of flying the mama out.
No, not even that. Like, if they didn't have a relationship, it was a one-night stand, they made a baby, and the daddy hit it, and now this other dude raised this daughter. The daddy didn't care about the girl anyway. Like, you gotta know the whole dynamic.
We don't really know that.
We don't know the whole
Right,
dynamic, what happened.
Right.
But if I would feel a certain way, I think the extreme of taking off the insurance and taking all that stuff, like, that's extreme if you've been around somebody for a decade and a half. But the man felt the way he felt. That's his damn insurance. That's his damn whatever else. That's his shit.
But no, seriously, like, what do y'all think, though? What's the guidelines for the whole flying out situation?
Well, so
should you expect sex?
Well, the big conversation, and I saw a post, girl said, man, you can't be expecting, you know, that sort of treatment on some friend zone stuff. Like, you can't be expected to be treated like a queen on some friend zone stuff. But on the other side, the man can't really expect king treatment off of some Expedia receipts. You know, Chan, now we are way past our flued out days.
There we go. If we ain't fluting out, and nobody's fluting us.
The term didn't even exist.
But, Chan, based on your limited knowledge of flued out, if you get on the plane,
and I pay for the ticket.
You pay for the ticket.
I bring you to my establishment of home.
You bring her to
your house.
Your domain.
I'm paying for her living
lodging
expenses.
Her lodging.
And meals, I would say.
And meals. Do you expect to get some goodies?
Hell yeah. Why are we flying out? We know each other, obviously. You say, hey, I want to come down to the city you in. I'm going to come over. You going to pay for the ticket. I'm going to get to your house. We're going to go eat, have dinner, and all that stuff. And then I'm going to sleep on the couch and you in the bed.
That's the conversation that can take place.
That's a conversation that should take place. But if we just want to look at it, stare at each other, we're going Zoom or FaceTime.
But why you can't have that conversation before the flight?
We talk on. That's what I'm saying. Talk on the phone. Hey, are we bumping uglies? No, I don't want to bump no uglies. Well, let's FaceTime. We just want to look at each other. You can go bowling with your friends. I go bowling with mine.
But what if she trying to figure out the vibe? Or what if you want to figure out the vibe? Maybe you don't even know if you want to have sex.
Zoom vibe. I believe in Zoom vibes.
We don't do Zoom interviews.
Huh?
Sit-downs, conversations.
I guarantee you I could go on a Zoom and say, oh, yeah, he ain't nobody been on the show yet. She ain't nobody been on the show. You can figure out somebody with a Zoom, man. What's the point of getting together like that to get a vibe? You know I don't believe in vibes and all that. It was to see if our if you're a Capricorn and I'm a Sagittarius, so we come together with our sun persons. Get out of here with that shit. I'm bringing you to me to now eat and bowl and sleep. Y'all kiss my ass. I might be old school. That sounds crazy.
I don't necessarily. Okay. Let me give a different side of it, right? I get it. You're not gonna pay for her to fly, sleep, eat, have a good time if you don't get a payoff.
But at that point, she's a pet. I'm paying for everything. I'm feeding her. I'm letting her sleep in the house, and now we just. How was your night?
Right,
Good?
but also too.
You want bacon or sausage?
Now, okay, so here's the first thing, right? There's a lot of people who just won't fly to somebody if they don't already have that relationship.
Established.
So you know, right?
Established
But
ugly bump.
we are also in a time where people meet on social media a lot, right? So if you're not in the same city, the only way for me to actually have a conversation with you face to face is for you to get on a plane. So my thing is, okay, let's just have the conversation of what your expectation is.
Yeah.
Right? And then now, based on your expectation, that's how I make a decision on whether or not I'm gonna pay for this ticket and lodging and food and all that, because it's kind of like a first meeting or a first date, right? So you already know.
Yes.
And also too, like I remember, bro, it was like 02, right? I was young, met a little chick at Essence. And I already know her. You know, back in our days, you wouldn't get no social media. I already know her. She flew out, we went half, because I was on practice squad. I said, I don't know you like that.
It's called Dutch.
Right? Dutch, we went Dutch.
Yeah.
And you know what? I made a decision that I didn't want to give nothing up. By the time she got there and we hung out, I realized I don't want to do it with you.
I see. In your life, you withhold Peter Wee?
I didn't withhold anyway because
You
it
hold out
wasn't
Peter
hers. It was not hers yet. And it wasn't in there like a body is not my own situation.
Your temple. You don't want to let her in your temple?
I didn't like her like that. And we went Dutch, so I ain't waste no money. But what if that happens now? What if it's the first meeting, I fly you out? No, if I take you on vacation, of course I expect it. But even then, I can act like I don't want it the first night, because I know we on vacation for 3 weeks. Now I'm a gentleman.
You can do the FaceTime.
Man, Chan, stop it, bro. People be feeling like they're in these parasocial relationships. That's why I need to meet people, be around them, and if the vibe is off, y'all should both be able to say, hey, this is okay, you can go back home.
What does the vibe mean?
What if you don't like
But
it?
you're
energy.
talking on the phone.
No, but
you
like
talk
that-
on the
no,
phone for
when you get
45
the-
minutes.
you
You FaceTime, you Zoom. Like, you could look at Dave's facial expression. Like, what does vibe mean? Like that. That's what I'm saying. Like
that's
that
usually
whole.
an in-person thing, possibly, right?
But what does it mean?
But you have to have that. You have to have that pregame conversation. You have to establish, what the expectations are. You got to communicate. You got to talk. You got to set boundaries. You can't just run out there and say, okay, this is going to happen, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment if sex is what you're actually looking for at the end game. So you can have a pregame before the pregame. You're going to go have drinks and stuff, but you have that conversation, and you can do that over the Zoom and everything else.
Yes.
So do you feel like every first date you're supposed to get some? Because if you go, and honestly, if you feel like you spend money on a girl, you're supposed to get some, just get a prostitute or a working girl.
No, it's different. If you go to the mall and meet Sally, and then you say, Sally, can I have your number? I'm gonna call you tonight, we can go to the Piccadilly. You go to the Piccadilly and you talking to Sally. She's in the same city you are. You and Sally ain't, okay, Sally's weird, she got a lisp. I don't know why you don't like her. You and Sally separate and go your separate ways. Y'all text on Christmas. If we meet and we establish, I'm flying to your city to stay with you.
You do also
To
realize,
go out.
people
You
meet
are
on
not-
social media now
What are you
and internet.
And
It could be the first meeting
I tell
in
you this.
person.
So you fly somebody out and they have plans. I pay for your ticket. You come stay at my house. Hey, RC, my homegirl's down here. I'm about to go have dinner with them.
Stay with them. Live with them. Let them fly you back home.
I saw that before.
I'll grab my pearls.
I saw that before.
You know where they stuff gonna be? By the mailbox out front.
No.
With the sprinkler system on.
The thing that I saw, when the girl touched down, the guy picked her up, loaded the bags, did everything. She was like, oh, can we go down to this mall? I've always wanted to go to your mall in your city. He's like, that wasn't the conversation. We didn't talk about that. We're not going to the mall. She's like, but I just want to go and I'll meet my girl down there. We'll go to the mall. He's like, I don't know about that. That wasn't the deal. They didn't make it past the airport exit. He dropped her off. He went and took the bag out, put it back down, and just pulled off.
Hashtag respectfully, though. It was respectful.
Right, because he asked her. He's like, no, that wasn't the conversation. But
If you don't stand for nothing, you'll go for anything.
right.
Communication. Last 2 topics we had was about communication. The girl, the
In life.
stepdaddy should have communicated. And if you're gonna flew somebody out, you need to communicate what's happening when you get there. Communication is a lost form in this current world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how we transition to that. Obviously, the show is now over because that is the ultimate pivot. But John Brinkus of Sports Science passed recently, and his family or whoever posts from his site said it was he lost his bout with depression, which I think is sort of apropos for where we are now in Men's Mental Health Month. And on a show that he once did, he said, you know, after he sold Sports Science, he went through a depression. And it took him a ton to get out of it. He found a therapist and he finally worked his way out of it. And he talked about what opening up about depression, you know, could be like and the way that it felt for him. You know, obviously it was something that continued to haunt him and continued to plague him until the end of his life. Freddie T, I know, you know, you have a lot of, you know, strong opinions about why focusing on your mental health is good for men. When you hear something as sad as, you know, John Brinkus passing, what are some of your thoughts or advice you could give to people who are battling and struggling with some of these things?
We fight a lot of those things on the inside. You mentioned it earlier. We was talking about Steph, right? You also mentioned communication. We have to talk about it. We have to, you know, like we're bringing up here on this show, we know June, we have different months throughout the year. That's Women's Mental Health Month, Men's Mental Health Month, just Mental Health Month for all of us. I think every day should be a mental health awareness day. You have to be able to, you know, encourage people to have those conversations because you never know what someone is going through within, even though they can look so good on the outside. Check on your happy friend. You say it all the time. And it's tough because you just, it's silent. You just don't know. But I will always do my best, you know, as a friend, even just a regular person, even not being a friend, to ask someone how's their day going, you know, and try my best to enlighten them and encourage them, even if they're going through the worst. This is, as much as I want to talk about it, it's always sort of hard to talk about, right? Because you try to find the right thing to say to try and help people, but I can say this, and I can tell you too, that I'm good. I'm not going through anything, but I do want to be there to help as many people as I can. That's it.
I would say with what, you know, we did the show, and I appreciate y'all letting me open up about my father. And seeing others' grief made me open up more to communicate. People calling me to lean on me about Randy's passing made me talk more. Because, you know, I wanted to be the tough dude, but now they're crying and they're talking about Randy, so now I'm gonna talk about Randy back with you. And that gets to, you know, the divorce when I was 10 years old. And now we're going with my sisters and with, you know, my step siblings and different people, and it's going deeper and deeper and deeper, and it lifts that weight off. So to the point about communication, if you can find somebody to talk with them. I was forced recently to communicate more about it, and I do think it took a pressure off of me that I didn't know I had on me. And one thing, and I know we've talked about this before, counting pockets. Don't say you can't be depressed if you're rich. Don't say you can't be depressed if you have nice cars, if you have a big house. Don't put anything financial or success or meritocracy based on depression. Because John Brinkus was a very successful person. It was something else in him. So I hate, that's my biggest pet peeve. Why is he depressed? He got millions. obviously the money wasn't what upset him.
John Brinkus, man, I got an opportunity to meet him. I was always like a huge sports science fan, right? Because I felt it always gave me a way to say I could play with people who were like more skilled or more athletic than me. And when the Super Bowl was in Houston, they did this episode of Sports Science and they let me do it. I had just retired, right? And the night before, my homeboy Kevin, y'all met him, he took me out to eat. So he took me out to eat, we drank a bottle of wine, right? I get up in the morning. I didn't know what I was supposed to go do. They did all these things at NASA for the astronauts, right? So I'm running on a treadmill, but I got a harness on, and I'm jumping on a trampoline, but I got a harness on, all this stuff. But I ate good and drank good the night before, so I had to go throw up, right? So I had to run outside and go, and John was so nice to me. He's like, I know, RC, man, it's like, you're doing a lot, man, thank you so much, I get it. Like, he was just so kind, and he was so sweet and so understanding, and so it does make you sad, but it also gives you sort of the visual of how the outside doesn't always match the inside. And recently there's been this quote from Robin Williams that has been floating around that says, people don't fake depression, they fake being okay, right? And so it lets you know, when I listen to it or when I read it, it looks like, or it feels like, it's like, okay, that means that just because people are telling you that they're all right doesn't mean that they aren't fighting this internal battle, right? But it also means that when they tell you something is wrong, something's really wrong, right? We can't say, oh, they got money, or oh, they have success, or oh, they have this. They are crying out to you. And when you think about a man doing that, that's not what we're taught to do, right? It's counterintuitive to everything I've learned about be tough, fight through it, be a man, right? And so when they actually say that to you, we have to listen. We have to know that this is a person that's saying they're struggling. They're asking to not be seen as a man, but to be seen as a human who is dealing with something. And I think so many times for men, we realize, or we don't realize, I should say, that we're fighting a fight that toughness actually isn't the greatest weapon, right? It's vulnerability, it's openness. It's actually being, quote unquote, soft enough to ask for help. And so I think when people reach out to you or when people tell you that there's something going on, we have to take those things extremely serious, man, because for a man to get there, that means he's tried everything else. And when you try everything else and nothing's working, especially for successful people who are used to winning, I think that's a depth of a low that's real difficult to deal with.
I just want to remind everybody, if you're feeling something heavy, just text 988, and hopefully you can get the help that you need. Just holler at us. We'll do our best.
It's a show.
Hey.
Hold up, limitless, take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the here to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Limitless, take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the here to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up.